welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak On It. Welcome to Speak On It. I'm welcome to Speak On It. Welcome to Speak On it. I'm welcome to Speak On It. Welcome to Speak On it. I'm welcome to speak. Welcome to speak. I'm 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 Who You With, Kurt, dog. Welcome to Speak On It with Who You With, Kurt, dog. I'm Who You With, Kurt, dog. Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Man, it's a great day today. We got a lot accomplished today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this Monday. Had a lot of stuff going on in the news. After I set up the show, they confirmed Amy Barrett to the Supreme Court, which I have my personal thoughts about it. Wish they would have waited till the next president come in, but once again, we knew that wasn't going to happen. So, but I did hear that John Cornyn, who is on the ballot, he voted to nominate her. So we need to vote him out. Welcome everyone to the show. Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, D Live. Wherever you listening at, you can chat live with us in the chat room. Tonight, we're going to talk about, ran across the story last night after we got off the air. 21 people from Texas and Louisiana was arrested during an anti-human traffic bus, which is crazy. Then also a man walking around in Cleveland Heights with a long gun, allegedly saying he's going to kill black people. We'll talk about that too. Then we're going to do some follow-up stories because we actually had Sid right when we got off the air last night. He sent in a message about a follow-up story. So we will talk about that too. And also we're going to have a Q&A tonight. If it's a question you have, ask away. So hopefully everybody is doing their part and getting out and voting. I know here in Dallas, I believe it's Friendship West and DC3, both have had over 10,000 people to vote, which is a great thing. And at both of those locations, 10,000 apiece, that's a lot. And I seen a story where I think they said here in Texas, we're getting ready to break the numbers of the number of voters right here in Texas. And hopefully everyone is voting smart and informed of what's going on. So for early voting, that's really good. But don't forget about when locals come around too. We need to vote for those also. So that's what we're going to hit on tonight. And if you have questions, put them in the chat. Let's roll with it. So about the 21 people that was arrested and between Louisiana and Beaumont, which is very disturbing. And looking at some of the names on it, which I will put it on my page for you to see it for yourself. Welcome to the show, radio. Um, oh, okay. What did y'all vote on? Uh, what did y'all vote on up in Canada? He said we just had an election here in Vancouver. Um, let me know what y'all voted on. Um, so on this particular story, it happened down in Beaumont in the Jefferson County District Attorney Office. Um, they worked together on a 2-day joint operation targeting what official calls sex buyers. Um, so 21 men was arrested for soliciting sex relations from both minors and adults. Beaumont police said investigators are still ongoing, but additional charges are expected. So now they call human trafficking as modern day slavery. And yes, I would agree to that. But we also have some other modern day slavery going on also in the world. Um, the exploitation of men, women, and children for forced labor or sex by a third party for a profit or gain. Um, so basically, they set up a thing, kind of how they did in Fort Hood a couple of months ago, where they pretend to be a child, need folks answer, and thought they was meeting uh, someone for either sex um, or going to meet a child. So that's really crazy on that. Um, now, one particular name that really stuck out, Dr. Sadiq Ali, 33 of Houston, is charged with prostitution under 18, which is a second degree felony. Um, so you have all different type of people from all walk of life. Now, apparently he was thought he was hooking up with a child under 18, but several charges like that. But this is a doctor, and let me see if I could pull up what type of doctor he is, because that's scary. Hope he's not a pediatrician, because that's not good. You doing these things, and um, trying to see exactly what kind he is. Oh, they said it was actually 26 people that was arrested, not 21, 26. And it was 2 doctors among the 26. Boy, that's not good. Um, Trying to see what type of doctor this doctor is, because I hope he don't deal with kids, because that's not good at all. And internal medicine. Okay, so that he could be, but he dealt with chemotherapy, internal medicine, and either way, he went to jail. Uh, Went to jail because of it, which they should. Um, Now, what you do, that's your business. Welcome, Joan Cynthia, watching on Facebook. Welcome to the show. You can live chat with us during the show. Um, Tonight, we hitting on I have 21 from the story I read, but I just read another one that said 26 people was arrested uh, for sex trafficking. Um, and that's what we're talking about now. But if it's something you want to talk about, definitely put it in the chat. Welcome to the show, T Cal. Said it's a shame of it all of it.
I agree with you. Um, so these 26 people was arrested. It was at least two doctors among the suspects that were arrested, and it's a shame. Here it is. Let me see if I can see what this other doctor do, what field he work in, because hopefully neither one of them working with kids. And ooh, no, the other one doesn't. But either way, it's not good. Um, he was charged with, he's 62, out of Beaumont, charged with prostitution, which is a class A misdemeanor. And it's several charges like that, but it was also several suspects um, that was actually on there that was uh, looking for kids, kind of how they did in Fort Hood a couple of months ago. We reported on Risky and myself. Um, Either way, they need help. Matter of fact, this 62-year-old, he actually is a psychiatrist. So apparently he didn't learn anything while he was getting his license. And maybe he need to call me and I can hook him up with a good counselor because he need one. So welcome to the show, Marcella Smith. Uh, Said there's got to be a better way. It have to be. It have to be. Eva Donkey, welcome to the show. Glad you came back again. Um, so glad you came back. We also mentioned that Judge Amy Barrett, was confirmed for the Supreme Court, and yeah, we knew they was gonna push it through. Not a surprise at all, and that's why we need to make sure we vote. I know here in Texas, I heard that John Carney was one of the ones that voted for it. Uh, Ted Cruz voted for it, and those are the two that I heard of. Um, so, well, I know Evil Dunk is like that because he is a supporter of Trump, and he's a woo woo. Okay, cool. Um, so hopefully, she do what's right, because with them confirming her, a lot of things is at risk right now. You have the Affordable Care Act that is at risk. Not only that, you have um, women rights at risk, and she don't stand for neither one of them. But what she don't realize, the people that it's going to affect mostly are the ones that cannot get out, don't have the money to do it themselves. So it should be a woman right what she decide to do with her body. I feel like no one had the rights to tell her what to do. Um, Marcellus asked, have a question for Eva Donkey. Eva Donkey, what happened if this election goes the way you think? Um, and he said he just asked him, want to know. I'm curious about that too, because I know he's a diehard Trump fan, and I asked him the question last night, and I'm glad he came on early today to actually maybe he will answer that question. Um, what stick out about Trump? What's the reason why you support him so much? And um, oh, he did answer. Um, so I'm just curious, how can you support a person like that? What make you so passionate to support them? Are you willing to lose your life supporting them? Because the thing is, they say if he lose, it may be a civil war. They also talked about if he win. As some of the Proud Boys said, it still probably be a civil war. But either way, like I said last night, it doesn't matter who win or who lose. It does to us, but the thing is, we know somebody gonna win, someone gonna lose, and at the end of the day, whoever win, we're gonna have to deal with it. Welcome to the show, Gabe. Um, so, Radio said you don't get recommended for a spot on the Supreme Court by the Federalist Society if they don't have an idea of how you will rule on certain cases. That's a joke. Exactly. And she been outspoken about Roe versus Wade. She been very outspoken. She's against it. Uh, she's also against the Affordable Care Act. So we know how this is gonna go, and that's just one of those things. But see, that's one of those things, Marcellus, where people that are out here supporting Trump, that's when they're gonna get a rude awakening. For the simple fact, um, racist people doesn't worry about who you supporting. They're not gonna take the time out and ask you questions. They're just gonna look at the color of your skin and treat you like that. So, um, Eva Donkey said the real question when Trump win, are you Democrat going to work with him to better every American way of life? Well, first of all, Trump is a joke altogether, because I finally had the chance to go back and listen to the debate, and this how I'm gonna point it out to you, Eva Donkey. One of the things Trump said was there's a spike of the COVID in Florida, Texas, and Arizona, and the numbers is much better now. Bullshit. So that is totally not true, because here it is in Texas, out in El Paso, the numbers are continue to go up. Here in Dallas County, in Tarrant County, the numbers are continue to go up also. So with the numbers are going up, it's even causing Greg Abbott to come and talking about open up a makeshift hospital to send patients to. See, the numbers are not going down, and they are going up. So Trump, he lied about that, and he's going to continue to lie as long as he have people like you to listen to him and to agree with him. So that's a problem within itself, and also why I said I'm gonna just go ahead and force myself and try to stay awake and listen to it. Um, um, and so uh, Biden, um, anyone responsible for that many deaths should not be president. That's what Biden said, which is true, because he don't take it serious. He still don't take it serious today. Like I said last night, here it is, 5 new cases in Pence. Um, um, Circled the people that's working around Pence. 5 new cases over the weekend, and here it is. Pence still don't want to quarantine. He still don't want to wear a mask, and they still want to hold these super spreader rallies. So that's a problem within itself. Um, so I see y'all speaking to yourself. So y'all try to tag team me the other night, but I got backup tonight. So Marcella said, "Yeah, I would work with him if it help all the human race, not just one he likes. Exactly. That's the problem. People look at parties and not looking at the bottom line. The bottom line, whatever laws are made, it's going to affect each and every one of us in some way or another. Maybe it's not going to affect you directly, but you may have family members it may affect. And what you have in family members that it may affect, what's going to happen is that family member may have to come to you and borrow money from you. So then it's affecting you. So don't just look at parties. Look at the overall of it. That's kind of like they talked about minimum wage. And Trump said, well, he really wasn't a big fan of taking it up to $15 an hour. Well, that's a modern day slavery. You have people working not even paycheck to paycheck. Here in Texas, minimum wage is like 7.25, and you paying 7.25. We broke it down before. Most apartment complex, if you want to stay in a semi-nice apartment, it's going to cost you probably about $1,000 a month for that, for a 1 bedroom. Now, don't have no kids, because if you have kids, it's going to cost you way more. How you going to eat? How you going to get to work? So it's a lot more goes into it. Radio said, forget Trump policy. Why do you support him when he clearly is incompetent as a president? I want to know that too. And he keep avoiding the question. He don't want to answer that part. He still want to ask the question, are the Democrats going to continue refuse to get stuff done because they hate Trump so much? Well, hold on. Even they've been talking about a stimulus package ever since they sent out the last stimulus package, and here it is. I believe they said it's 808 million Americans that is now in poverty due to the fact of the pandemic. Now, some of that may have been avoided if Trump would have signed the bill and got people paid. But he's more concerned about putting his name on a check. He even said at one point he wasn't going to sign the bill until after the election, but you still want to put somebody in Supreme Court before the election. That don't make sense. You're more concerned about the Supreme Court than you are the people of America to be able to take care of themselves, live everyday life, pay their bills, buy food. It's a lot of families that are going home, that are going to bed hungry. Some of them are becoming homeless. So don't talk about, are we going to work with Trump? And Trump don't give a damn about you. He don't give a damn about me or nobody else. If it's not about him and his family and the thugs around him, he don't care about us. And that's all to it. So don't come and say, are the Democrats going to work with Trump? It's not have nothing to do with policy. It's all about Trump racist ways, the way that he's trying to hold people to try to get stuff done that he lied about, like, for instance, the wall. He lied about that. Now he's lying that China going to pay for the next stimulus package, and said that he actually said in the last debate, oh, they paid for it. That money went to the farmers. I'm like, well, damn. So you saying they paid for it, but then he started stuttering when they asked him about the secret bank account he had over there, where he paid a hell of a lot more money in taxes over there than what he did here. But you okay with that? That's cool. Um, I'm gonna say BS on that, Gabe, because you down in Houston, and I know at one point Houston was a hot spot. back when they open up the beaches. Now, up here in Dallas, the numbers are going up. So that's why you have to do your research, check the news, and other than just in Houston, check the news in Dallas. Look at El Paso. El Paso is on the news every day talking about their cases. So it's I want to say El Paso cases have gone up 300% in the last couple of weeks. Um, so you cannot look at just one area. You need to do your research and look at the entire state of Texas. Uh, he mentioned Texas, Arizona, and Florida. I know at one point Florida was a hot spot. Arizona was one. So you have to look at all of it. I think last night I said um, Dallas had 907,000 cases of coronavirus just from last night. Last night, now it's up to 913 cases. 913,000 cases. Last night I said 907. But you think the number's not going up? Do your research, Gabe. You on that Trump train, that Trump Kool-Aid, or I don't know if you have that that 10 in a can going on, but do your research on it. So exactly, Marcella, with liberty and justice for all, but all of who? Because it's not for everybody. We need justice for everybody across the board. It need to be equal justice for everyone, not just a certain group of folks. Um, I don't I don't know the exact ratio of it, but Gabe, I pay attention to these numbers. So definitely do your research. We're not just talking about one particular area. Like for instance, I think I said a couple of days ago, between Dallas and Tarrant County, there was like 1,800 cases. And yesterday, it was pretty close to the same also. So the numbers have gone up, and we're seeing more numbers per day of new cases. So do your research, get at the bathroom, stop being like Trump and typing. So um, I don't know what you mean about what are you talking about. Hell, you brought up the question, so we telling you. T-Cal said, no, you're wrong, Gabe. West Texas is on fire and Dallas is back on the rise. There you go. She did her research. See, that's why I told you a while ago, because I know you're in Texas and you saying it's lower. I'm telling you to search everywhere, not just Houston. I know you said you in Houston. You have to look at Dallas, look at El Paso, look at Texas alone. Here it is, just overnight, we had 6,000 new cases, and that's a lot. Matter of fact, El Paso County had 772 new cases today. So that's just today. So you cannot tell me the numbers are going down. They are on the rise. Look at the news. I think they said it's like 41 states that is on the rise right now. So you got to stop looking at just where you are. You got to look at all the numbers, not just part of them. No, I'm not gonna go through that no more. I have the chart pulled up, so I'm looking at it on my screen, and the numbers haven't gone down in the state of whole. So no, like I said, we went from 907,000 last night to 913,000 today. So no, the numbers are going up. Um, Eva Donkey said, how about not raising the minimum wage? How about not doing the whole inflation thing again? So you saying that you prefer them not to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour, and who is that going to benefit? Because here it is people. I forgot you said you make good living. You pay less taxes than Trump. So with that being said, it don't affect you. But what about the ones that are struggling, having to um, live in a one-bedroom apartment with maybe a husband, a wife, and two kids because they cannot afford anything else? Because with both of them working, or maybe it's just one working, making $7.25 an hour, just won't get it. Um, See, you, Gabe, you have to stop listening to one station. You have to stop listening to that. Trump said 2 weeks ago he was not going to sign the bill until after the election. He said that himself. Then it came out he was holding up the bill because he wanted his name on the check. So please look at other sources than just the sources that you're looking at. So they try to get it passed. So what you're saying is inaccurate. Yeah, it's killing the market. Yes, it is. But at the same time, when you have somebody who's more concerned about their name on the check than helping people out, that's the problem. Um, no, I'm just speaking the truth. And there you go. So y'all got to stop reading those things. Y'all got to do more research. Uh, uh, I just said what Trump said a while ago, Gabe. Gabe, Trump said he did not want to sign the bill until after, he wasn't going to sign the stimulus package to after the election. Why are you holding it up? There's people out here losing their homes, losing their cars, cannot eat. So no, um, but hey, you're entitled to your opinion. Like I said before, send facts, not that conspiracy theory. Send facts. Uh, Hell, Trump said it. Trump said it. Matter of fact, go back and pull up the debate last Thursday. He said it then too. Said China is going to pay for it. See, that's the problem. Trump is saying these things, and I don't know where you're getting your information from, but Trump is actually saying these crazy things. One thing I'm not going to do is report false stuff on my platform. It's going to be accurate. You can pull it up. Trump said China is going to pay for the next stimulus package. So definitely pull it up and read it for yourself. That's what he said, just like the 60-minute interview. And he stormed out like a little kid, and then he um, turned around and came back with had his press secretary to bring a book in there and said that's his health care plan. And when the reporter went through it, she said it didn't really talk about a health care plan. He don't have one. So yeah, this is go back and do your homework on it. Uh, okay. Just because I read up on things and you don't, okay, cool. Um, I know a little bit about it, but like Trump said, it came out last week. He had bank accounts, and it also was reported he paid more taxes over there than he did here. That's a known fact. Um, uh, okay, yeah. Oh, radio. I'm glad you chimed back in. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question to ask, though. Why is everything a conspiracy theory with Trump, with some Trump supporter? I would like to know myself because it seems like that's how they get off. They like to have a lot of stuff as a conspiracy instead of coming with facts. You know, facts goes a long way because there's no argument when you come with facts. If you just coming up with conspiracy, it doesn't mean a thing. You need to come with straight facts. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't come with facts because they don't do the research themselves. They basically go by with what they hear uh, on the white ring, those hate channels that the Rush Limbaughs and all of them. So they don't have time to do their research. If they did their research, they would have a different outlook on things. But unfortunately, they don't. Um, uh, that's another thing they do too. You got to realize Hunter Biden is not running for president. He's not running for office. So Joe Biden cannot control what Hunter did. That's between Hunter and whoever he did business with. Don't have anything to do with Joe because if it did, it would come out by now. So, are you talking about me? No, it's people like you that have a one set mind that don't want to read and don't want to do your research on things. So I'm not the one that's screwing the country over. You might want to look at Trump dumbass up in office. He's the one screwing it over because here it is. He up here, hell, he don't want to wear a fucking mask. So once again, that's who's screwing the country over. He also talk about hate every time he open his damn mouth. So like I said, that's who you need to be concerned about. I'm not running the country. Um, Hunter Biden is not running the country. We talking about Donald Trump, the one that ain't paid no fucking taxes in a long time. So that's the one you need to be concerned about. And as for that, hell, you got options. You do. I definitely appreciate you tuning in. Tell your friends. I welcome all Trump supporters to come on. I have no problem with it. But please come with facts. Don't come with that fake stuff. Come with facts. Um, you talking about look at New York Times? I'm looking at the CDC facts, the one that upstate all the time. Not no newspaper. I'm looking at the CDC. So um, you might want to go check them out too. Um, so Marcella said, Trump said, if you don't test, we won't have as many cases. He sure enough said that. Then we would be fighting invisible sickness if we don't test. Exactly. That's kind of like uh, the White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, said yesterday in an interview. The U.S. cannot contain this virus. There's no way we can contain it. And Trump is saying the virus is going to disappear soon. Matter of fact, one thing Trump said in the debate was it's going to be a cure coming out in 2 weeks. And when the the lady asked him, said, "So it's a cure in 2 weeks?" Well, no, it probably by the end of the year. And she said, "Well, the doctors are saying probably 2021, and we may be wearing masks until 2022. So which one is right? He said, no, what I'm saying is right. How the hell are you going to give more advice than what the doctors are saying? That don't make sense to me. So that's the person that is messing up the country right there. Um, country's not testing as much, have many more cases than we. Speaking of that, I don't know if you heard about because I said I want to make sure I keep this Utah mom code. Um, Utah mom code. Basically, what that is, the mothers of school children up in Utah, they have a secret club they're in that if their kids are feeling sick, do not get them tested, but the numbers won't go up. They feeling sick, let them stay at home. So the thing is, that's the type of mentality we have to deal with some of Trump's supporters, because they don't want the numbers to go up. Instead, they're gonna hide the sickness and act like everything is okay. But then you going out doing your regular thing, knowing that you're not doing good, and you continue to spread it. That's the problem, because people are continue to do what they want to do, knowing that they've been having symptoms, and they don't want to deal with the issue itself. So that's a problem within itself. Um, so definitely do your homework, Gabe, Eva Donkey, both of you. Um, do your homework. Um, So that's part of the problem. Radio said Dave Chappelle put it best. Trump asked the media to quit finding shit out. Exactly. Um, because Trump he want people not to do research on him. He don't, if he can remove all the internet to keep people from researching these things, he will be happy, because people would feel like he's doing a damn good job. But because the technology today is, unfortunately, we all have the internet. If you have a phone, you have the internet. So not unless you have a flip phone. But Marcella said, how are we to know if we don't test? Exactly. I guess if we don't test, you would know once they put you on that ventilator. Um, they put you on that ventilator, and then they turn around um, and you have to FaceTime your family and say your goodbyes by FaceTime. I guess that's what you really know. Um, I, I would assume, but only way we really gonna know or even know how to treat you, you have to have test friend, have to get tested, and that's all to it. I don't know what you're talking about the graphs. So you haven't sent me anything, so I don't know. Uh, uh, because they're gonna feed you what they want to feed you. They're gonna try to get you riled up and feed you lies, feed you stuff that you're gonna believe, hoping that you don't go out and research for yourself. That's all it is. Uh, ain't nothing much more. Okay. Um, well, definitely pull it up. Pull it up. I'm sure you could pull it up. Pull up where Trump said he wasn't going to sign the stimulus package. Matter of fact, once I catch up with all the message, I'll pull it up and see if I can play the audio of it where he said he wasn't going to sign it. So definitely do your research on it, find out, and let me know what you find out, because when you find out, please come back and say you was wrong. And that's all I can ask you to do. Just say, hey, you right. Trump did say it. So um, that's all I'm asking you to do. Do your research on things and go with it like that. Um, he did too say China is going to pay for the next stimulus package. Google it; it'll come up. You'll see several stories on it. You'll see videos of him saying it. He said it last week in on the debate. Said China is paying for it. So once again, pull it up. Only thing you got to do is type it in. It'll come up. Um, uh, no. So um, yeah, I'm reading the messages and the ones that you putting up that is not accurate. I'm gonna just keep on strolling. That's all I'm gonna do. So that's the evil. Um, Well, you know what, Gabe? If you want to call in, I'll give you the number. You can call in and you can say what you want to say. But once you start spreading out the lies, I'm gonna cut you off because we're not gonna give out lies. So if you want to call in, you can call in and you can say what you want to say. But as soon as you start telling lies, I'm gonna cut you off just to give you fair warning. And that's all to it. Marcella said, I'm fair, I'm biased. I look at all the pros and cons of everything. Then I make my decision. For example, Obama passed the gay right bill. And as a Christian, I don't stand for that. I don't either, but at the same time, the Bible do tell us to follow the law of the land. And because it is the law of the land, I have no problem with it. I'm like, hey, as long as they happy, I'm happy. I don't care. Um, I don't judge nobody. That's the law of the land. So I follow the law of the land like the Bible tells us to. Uh, I haven't heard that. Um, oh Lord, there they go spreading lies again. Marcella said a lot of laugh. Well, this Christian won't be gay, so I'll pass. I'm judging nobody. That is just don't come and try me with it because it's going to be a problem. Exactly. I have no problem with anybody. I can talk with anybody as long as we have that understanding. What you like may not be my liking. Don't try to force it on me, and we cool like that. I have uh, gay friends, gay followers, gay family members, and it doesn't bother me as long as they're not trying to force me into it. I'm okay with it. I can hang around, talk about anybody, but that's their life. That's they the ones gonna have to answer for that. Um, Gabe said Trump supporters are the problem, right? The problem is some people just don't want to. They don't want to. They only believe what is told to them instead of researching. And that's not just Trump supporter, that's everybody. I feel like no matter who you support, you also need to do your background, research stuff for yourself. Um, Nobody is a homophobic. Homophobic. No, we're not. So no, that's not. Uh, do your homework my way or not at all. Um, okay. Radio said it stopped climate damage and emission from U.S. power plant by 2035. By 2035, we're talking about 15 years from now. 9 times out of 10, most of those leaders that we have in Washington, uh, most of them won't be around. They definitely shouldn't be in office, which I feel like it should be a term limit anyway. So no, 2035. That's why you have to look at everything, because he's talking about by 2035. Now, the key is the laws that they're making now, it's going to affect us probably the next 40 or 50 years, that most of us probably won't even be around during that time. That's why it's so important to get out and vote. So that's the problem. Um, well, I don't know. Um, Radio said 2035. I don't know which one is true. You said 2025. I'm not sure which one is true. I don't see it being 2025. I don't know. But that's something we can pull up and check. Um, I just don't like them typo. I don't know what you're talking about. R 2035. Yeah, definitely take a look. Take a look and put it in the chat. I'm sure you can also pull up Operation. Oh, there that conspiracy go. Uh, Also, you can look up news and video of everything from both sides. So why it even matter anyway? That's all I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to do your research. Y'all saying Trump did not say he wasn't going to sign the stimulus package to after the election? That's what I'm saying. Look at it, pull it up. You will see it. Um, so you will see it. So, but I'm gonna tell you, if you call with some crazy stuff, I'm gonna cut you off right away. I have no problem with you calling. But if you call in with some crazy stuff, I'm gonna cut you off. So just be prepared. It's not gonna be no warning. I'm gonna just disconnect the call. So, um, so there you go. Number is up on the screen. I'm waiting. So you call with some foolishness, I will cut you off right away. And so I've said this before, and people say, "Oh yeah, I'll do this." Okay, you keep on encouraging them, but I'm gonna let you know. He called in with some foolishness. I'm gonna cut him off real quick. And that's all to it. And you getting fair warning, but you got to call in quick, because I don't know if you heard the show last night, but we will be stricken, staying to a strict time. Hold on, this must be him because it's a Houston number. Speak on it. Speak on it.
Hey, is this Kurt?
Yes, it is.
Kurt, my son was listening to your cast. His name is Gabe.
Yes.
And he kind of popped me over and he said, "Hey, listen to this guy talk." And I kind of enjoyed the way you were approaching the problems in a logical way. So I thought I'd call in. Of course, I'm from the other side, just so you know, in full disclosure. But did appreciate your approach, so I wanted to dial in.
No problem. I appreciate you for tuning in. Definitely like to please subscribe and tell a friend about us. This is a platform for everyone, not just for one party. It's for everybody. It's able to give everybody a voice to be able to speak of what's going on in the world, whatever subject we're talking about, or if it's a different subject you want to talk about. Because this platform was built to give people the opportunity to speak their mind. So definitely continue to tune in, and I enjoy you. I have no problem. Everybody have their own opinion, but the only thing I ask y'all to do is to come in with facts. Don't no conspiracy theory. Come with facts, and that's all we're gonna talk about on this show is talk about fact. And what's your name?
Adam. By the way, I love the part about facts, right?
Yes.
Because facts are friends, right? Facts are friends.
Yes, it is.
Hey, just a little bit about my background, right? So my parents were immigrants, right? Ex-military, and
Thank you for serving.
I worked all over the oil and gas, the power industry, nuclear power, wind power, gas turbine, coal, global trade. I dealt with China, billions of dollars worth of deals in China. So I've got a pretty diverse background. I grew up in Philly, really like crappy parts of Philly, like Kensington, Fishtown. Grew up in Manhattan in the 80s before it was nice.
Yeah, okay.
In some tough places. But like I'll touch on one thing, and I know you got other people, but renewables, right? And zero emissions. I think what Biden meant was 2050 or 2030. It's not clear, right? He did say 2025 in the debate, but I think he meant 2030 or 2050. I mean, 2025 is just, there's no
That's
way
too
to do
short.
it, right, without nuking the country. It's just never going to get there. But I want to explain some kind of data to you, right? And why smart energy policy is so important. And why, let's say, withdrawing from the Paris Accords made a lot of sense, right? Now, would you imagine for a moment, right?
Okay.
1 unit of producing, 1 unit of GDP worth of production in America, right? Could be cars, could be, houses, whatever, but we're building, let's say, 1 unit of something in America. Well, to build that something takes energy, right?
Yes.
It takes labor, and it takes materials, right?
Yes.
Now, if we switch to renewables, the cost of energy does go up, right? And by the way, and I can tell you this because I've literally built thousands of wind turbines all over the world, right? The towers, the insides. I actually understand what they cost to make and how they're built. But one thing we know for sure, right, is if you switch to renewables today, at least based on the efficiency and the cost of those renewables, the cost of energy goes up. Now, that's not automatically a bad thing, right? If you get cleaner, lower carbon emissions, that could be a good thing.
Yes.
Here's the problem, right, with the Paris Accords. When America switches to renewables, let's say 100% in the next 20 years, and our cost of energy doubles, what do you think will happen to manufacturing in America that relies on heavy utilization of energy, right? So steel making, automotive manufacturing. If those costs go up dramatically, what will happen is that those industries will lose work to other countries with lower costs of energy, China being the number 1 country on the list. And guess what happens? If we lose 1% of GDP due to higher energy costs, and it goes to China, you get 2% more carbon emissions. It's crazy in a way, right? You go renewable to save the environment, reduce carbon emissions, but you end up losing work from the economy that has the best emissions and really carbon footprint among the best in the world, and you shift the work to China, you hurt American workers, and you create more carbon and more pollution.
So let me ask Adam, let me ask you a question real quick. Because when you say it hurt American workers, would you say when they take out cashiers at grocery stores and put in the self-checkout, isn't that taking jobs from America?
No, you're totally right.
Okay,
There is good innovation.
But hold on.
Good innovation.
Hold on, but let me ask you this also.
Sure.
What about when Americans are losing jobs and they outsource it to other countries.
Yes.
Would you say that's hurting America too?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Now also, when these companies move their plants to other countries, taking them from America to other countries,
Yes.
would that hurt America too?
You know, it depends, right? I think in some cases it does, if it's because of bad policies on our part, right, that put our, let's say, companies at an economic disadvantage to do work in America. But the point I was making isn't, you know, losing jobs because technology is improving, right, or we're going to get better value elsewhere. It's more like cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? Because you're costing American jobs in an effort, right? What's the purpose of renewables, right? What's the purpose of the Green New Deal? It's to help save the environment. It's to help reduce carbon emissions, right? That's the purpose.
That's the reason why they
when we do that, and we actually create more emissions, more carbon, that defeats the purpose and it costs jobs. So it's wasteful.
Well,
right? It's hurtful without benefit.
That's kind of like when they took, remember back in the old days, the cars had carburetors on it. And that's supposed to be helping with emission and all of that. So when they took that off, but now a lot of the manufacturers are sending these cars overseas and getting parts made over there because it's cheaper for them to do it. But then they still charge us these high prices for these same cars that are not American made. And most cars are, part of them may be made in America, part may be made elsewhere. Because if you bought a new car lately, it will tell you what country it was made in. And it's not always America. So that's a problem.
No, you're right.
That's a problem within itself. And I'm glad you called. I respect you. You say you're a Trump supporter. Had no problem with that. But with his slogan to say "Make America Great Again," I would like to know, when have America ever been great for everyone?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that question. You know, look, let me just say one thing on the renewables, right? On the renewables piece, hey, if there was sound global policy that held China accountable, right, to play on the same playing field, I would be all for it, right? Let's all invest more in renewables. But if what we do just costs American jobs and creates more emissions anyway, that doesn't help. Now, back to when was America great? I'll share an example with you. When did we go to Normandy Gate? 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago. Normandy, France. But I'm not talking to you about Normandy. This is in France, right? D-Day, all that stuff.
Okay.
But when I was on Normandy Beach, which is pretty, you know, it's a holy place. You can feel it. It reminded me of another beach that I had been to maybe 20 years earlier. It was. Did you ever see the movie Glory?
Yes.
Glory. The beach, the charge, right? That was Fort Wagner, I believe, right? They were charging, and it reminded me of Fort Wagner. And because look, my family, they're not, let's say, they weren't here during World War II, right? We're more kind of recent. But I'm proud of what those men accomplished on that beach. And at that time, I thought back to, you know, Fort Wagner and the people who charged up that beach. And to me, America was great back then as well, right?
Okay, but for who though?
I don't know. America's had many moments of greatness over its history.
But Adam,
yeah, go ahead.
Who was it great for though? Because unfortunately, for the Black community, it wasn't never been great for us. With the history of America, it was never great.
No. And look, America's been tough on a lot of people, right? As a country, I mean, a lot of people. You know, the immigrants who came in, the Irish, the abuse they suffered, right, as they came into the country, and the discrimination. I think African Americans, of course, went through something much, much, much more, right, difficult and unacceptable. So there's no question, right, that America hasn't been so good to its people over the years. But, man, there has been a lot of moments of greatness. Do you know how many medals of honor went to African Americans during the Civil War?
Not right offhand, I don't. But
you should take a look. Take a look. There's some amazing stories, right? They were very brief about how they wrote them. It will be something like "picked up the colors, charged forward, and rallied the men." Right? Just amazing stories, right? Of heroism, bravery, and those men. They fought side by side. I think there were 200,000 African American soldiers during the Civil War, maybe 600,000 Germans, a few 100,000 English, right? These are like first generation, a lot of them. And they fought side by side.
But
that was a moment of greatness. I'd have to say so. It was inspiring to me even today.
But hold on, Adam. That's all fanny and that's all good to get those medals. But the problem was once those soldiers made it back home, if they was able to make it back home.
Yep.
They was judged by the color of their skin, not for the fight that they did for this country. And that's the problem we still have today.
I grew up in, I went to a school where I was the only white kid in the school, I think, or one of a handful, right?
Yes.
And I've grown up in, communities that were extremely poor. And, I understand what you're saying, right? And I've seen it's almost like fighting gravity, trying to beat your way out of that neighborhood, right? To fight your way out of that neighborhood. You remember, Gabe, when I took you to Philly, to our old neighborhood? Right? So I took my son a few years back to the Army-Navy game, and I took him to my old neighborhood. It was late at night. And as we come through underneath the elevated train, this literally an armored friggin' police car comes flying by, lights flashing, and he kind of perked up. He's a big kid. He goes, "Oh, that was strange." And then we drive up the neighborhood, and we get to my corner of the street, and there were two police cars kind of parked on either side of this intersection. So I said, "Okay, Gabe, we're getting out." And did you want to get out of the car?
Okay.
What?
We have about 2 minutes.
Car, right? He was afraid. He was afraid to get out of the car. But I said, "No, we're going to get out of the car," because he was grown up really, really, in a comfy, cushy life, right? So got out of the car. Then we went and we got a drink at the corner store, and we sat down in front of a little church in the corner near where I used to live. And, I think what was 10 minutes later, those two kids came by looking for their little puppy, right? Looking for their puppy, right? And I told them when those kids left, because you'd see that in our current neighborhood, which is suburbia, right? I said, "Gabe, look, remember those two kids. When they come out of those neighborhoods, they are going to fight like hell to make it." Now, not everybody makes it out of those neighborhoods, but those of us that do know what it took to make it out of there. So, I'm not going to bullshit you, excuse my language, and tell you America is always fair. It's not. But, man, we got a lot to be proud of, too.
Yes, we do. Adam, I'm going to ask you this, because
Martin Luther King, tell me, wasn't he great?
I wasn't born during that time, but yes, he was.
Greatness?
He was. Very smart and intelligent man that was murdered. But we're out of time for tonight. I'm going to ask you this. Definitely tune into the show. We will be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Time, and we can pick back up on this conversation. Definitely tune in tomorrow. I appreciate you for calling. And Gabe, you don't have to hide. You can say hello or something, say, "Hey, man, what's going on?"
I'm not hiding. Looking forward to talking to you. I told you about it.
Hey, I appreciate you. like I say, we're open on this show. We definitely want to keep the conversation going. Um, Normally, because we're doing a lot of changes with the show. Normally, we go well. We never really had a set time. We just go with the flow. But I've been advised to do some other things. But definitely, let's pick this up tomorrow, 8 p.m. Gabe.
We'll do that. William Harvey Carney. Look that guy up. Okay.
What's
William
the name?
Harvey Carney. William Harvey, Harvey, Carney, Carney. Born February 29, 1840, Virginia.
Okay.
Amazing.
I got him. Born in Norfolk, Virginia, and died in 1908. Yeah. Okay. Definitely. Definitely. Let's connect tomorrow. You can text me at this number if you need to. Is this your number or is this a different number?
Oh no, it's my number.
Cell?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Gabe or Adam? Which one?
This is Gabe.
Okay. Well, I'll text you, and as soon as I get off there, I'll text you. And I have no problem with having dialogues like this, as long as it's facts. I'm okay with that. I'm definitely okay with it.
100%. We respect the facts. We respect the facts. Absolutely.
Yeah. Look. This is great, Tom. And that's why I was interested too. Again, I appreciated your approach. You know, look, the African American community is the backbone, the heart and soul in many ways of America, right? I know this from where I grew up. You know, huge difference. I mean, not easy, right? Not easy.
Exactly.
Right? But the men, right, that make it out are the toughest, the strongest, the greatest, right, that I've seen. I look, I'm a big believer, right, in opportunity. Opportunity then gives room for people to succeed and to grow. And, so yeah, definitely let's keep the conversation going. I think facts definitely are friends. We don't always have to be on the same page.
Exactly. We can agree and disagree. And at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference, because we have to be big enough to say, you know what? You believe that, I believe this. You have your own opinion, I have mine. Let me ask you a question, though, Adam.
Sure.
When I asked the question last night, I had asked the question because with the election coming up next week from tomorrow, when it's all said and done, and I'm asking this because of some of the threats that have been made to different communities, that if Trump lose, and then they also said if Trump win, it may be a problem then also. So my question is, as you being a Trump supporter, how will you feel if Trump do lose?
Well, look, I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, right? And we're gonna, if he loses, I expect him to vacate the office peacefully. I suspect he will. If there's it wouldn't be the first time, right? We had Bush versus Gore, right? So we'll let the courts kind of fight that out. That's the proper way to handle disputes. But at the end of the day, it's a republic, right? And I expect the leaders to respect and honor the Constitution and to protect and preserve it. So I think we may see some public disturbances potentially from either side. I mean, look, I heard today, right, there were some Jewish Americans, Trump supporters in Manhattan, who got beat up by some folks. We don't know who, Antifa, who. Terrible, right? Not acceptable.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side of that could be true, right? But violence is not the answer, right? Peaceful political transfer is key, because once you break that fabric, then all bets are off. And I'll share with you another experience. I think we went, what was it, 2 months ago, we wanted to go to the gun range, right? Maybe 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So we shoot occasionally at this gun range near our house. And we walked in, and I kid you not, that the gun shop was cleaned out. Like, all the guns were gone except for a few. Never had seen that before. All the ammo was gone. And then I looked to my right, where you can kind of see the firing range through the windows, and there was just a whole bunch of families shooting them there. I guess the guns they had bought for the first time. And I looked at my son. I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to shoot near these people. And we left. And then there was another gun range down the street, and they were chock full. So I can tell you this. This is not a country anyone wants to mess with, right? Any side, from any side. We should all play ball, respect and honor the Constitution, respect and honor the election, treat each other respectfully, because the alternative is frightening, right?
Yeah.
And no one wants to go there. So, and I say that not as a Trump or Biden. This is an American, right? We got to remain a family and not get into this, basically a civil war, right? Which is the far kind of extreme of what could happen, and God help us if that happens, because we got a very heavily armed population. I don't see that happening. I really don't.
Well,
I think both sides will do the right thing when push comes to shove.
Well, the reason why I asked that question, because it came out, I did a show last week where the Proud Boys, I've done it a couple of times, but it was a new video, came out last week. I played the soundbite on it where a member of the Proud Boys said that if Trump loses, it's going to be a civil war. Then also they say if he wins, it's still going to be a civil war, because the Democrat will start a civil war, which I don't believe that, not unless I feel like this. The only way I'm gonna say for me, the only way I'm gonna start to defend myself if my life is threatened. That's the only way.
Right.
Me or my family life is threatened, I will defend myself then. But just to get upset because of an election, the election happened for a reason. We know somebody gonna win, somebody gonna lose. And I asked the question last night, are you willing to lose your life if your candidate do not win? Because to me, they don't care. They're going to look, they have security.
So there's always a nut, right, in the bunch, right? But like by and far, Americans, I mean, we're good people. We're not going to put up with that nonsense, Yeah. The main thing we've got to do is make sure the election is done. It's fair. The disputes are worked out through the courts, right? That's why they're there. It's not a problem. This thing takes 2 months to figure out, because it's going up and down the court system. Let it play out. It is the way we work, the way we solve issues. And then if you've got a nut on the left or the right that's going to start doing something stupid, law enforcement will take care of it. And, at some point, I'll protect you. You'll protect me. I mean, that's the way it's going to go down, right? Americans aren't going to let Americans be hunted down in the streets because they're for one side or the other. That's crazy, right? But I mean, not crazy. I mean, like, we wouldn't tolerate that. So these people on the fringe of both ends, they're going to find themselves out in the cold pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right? No one supports them. I don't support them on either side. You don't support them on the either side. And once they're exposed, they're just going to get taken out.
Exactly. And I'm like this. I'm all about what's right, doing what's right, and that's it. Wrong is wrong, wrong is right. Now, see, I didn't get a chance to hit on it tonight, but one story I was going to talk about. up in where was it? A guy walking around with a long gun on his back and going into the black neighborhood, saying he wanted to shoot.
Where? What city?
Hold on, in Cleveland Heights.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah, Cleveland
Yeah,
Heights.
it's kind of stupid, right? Like, why would you do that?
Cleveland Heights, Ohio, which I didn't get a chance to actually hit on that story tonight. But when I read that story last night, it made me think about something that my wife and I seen last week here in we had to go to Arlington, Texas for something. And while we was in Arlington, we were heading back to Dallas, and we driving down the street, and it was 96 degrees that day.
Yeah.
And as we driving down the street, of course, I'm driving, and I see a guy as we're approaching. I'm like, man, that's a scary sight, because he had on all leather. Long leather jacket like the Undertaker would wear on WWF. And as I'm driving, my wife said, yeah, that is scary. Him walking around with that gun on his back. I said, a gun? She said, yeah. So I made a U-turn just to make sure it was a gun. And sure enough, it was. Here it is. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 96 degrees, you walking around with a leather jacket on, and you have a long rifle on your back like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Which is a scary sight.
I mean, look, it's, you know, people have all sorts of different motivations, right? You know, I've seen people who, you know, like to drive old police cars. I don't know why. Maybe it makes them feel powerful, you know, giving people a little scare on the roads. You know, but that's the fringe, right? That's the fringe of both sides, and they're not, they don't have real power unless things go really crazy, right?
Yes.
Then people gravitate to the fringes. So what's important is, you know, we keep the fringe where the fringe belongs, on the side, and then the rest of us do what we're doing here, right? We kind of call things like they are, right?
Yeah.
Which is what frustrates me today. You know, it's either a lot of the media likes to be all this or all that. Never in the middle, never slightly off the middle. It's one or the other. And that's dangerous, right? Because that drives people to the fringe. So what I like about your approach is you're not playing on the fringe. You're kind of playing in reason, within the middle, which is where you find compromise. And this is how republics survive, right? They don't survive on the fringes. The fringes are, you know, they lead to socialism, right, or fascism, right? They lead to some of the darker forms of government out there. The middle is kind of where we thrive, I think, as a country.
You're right. You are right. Because one thing I've always said on this show, even when I talked about doing this show last year before the pandemic, I had a completely different setup of what I wanted to do. One of the things I said I did not want to do was talk politics, but now I find myself talking politics quite a bit, and which is something that we should be talking about. Just like I've said before y'all actually start listening months back, I'm about holding our elected officials accountable. I don't care what party they in. They need to be held accountable. I don't care who it is, and they could be Republican, Democrat, independent, whoever. I'm all about holding them accountable, and also voting every election, especially our local election is more important than the presidential election. So that's what the show.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But accountability is key, and you know, if you go back, right. So I do a lot of international business, and I have colleagues in China, right, and in other parts of the world. But But in particular, I remember there was a lot of snickering, right, from some of my Chinese colleagues when the protests started to break out, right, over George Floyd, and which is kind of rich, right, on their part, because they were busy suppressing Hong Kong, right? They're busy suppressing the Uyghur minorities. I mean, some terrible things are being done by the Chinese Communist Party. But anyway, they were kind of pointing out the unrest, and I told them, I said, listen, don't confuse, some unrest in the streets with a weakness in our democracy. This is how we work things out, right? Again, I'm not talking about violence, right, burning and things like that. I'm talking just people out in the streets. This is democracy at work. This is people holding the government accountable,
Yes.
right, to deliver. And that's what we're good at. I do think ultimately, and next week, we're going to hold the government accountable, right? We're going to make a decision. Do they get 4 more years? Do they not? And as long as we do that peacefully, we get to hold the next set accountable too. And if we don't, then that's a problem. So I'm hopeful. I do have kind of a positive outlook at the end of the day. I mean, there's a lot of scary things, let me tell you, right, that we're facing. The economic situation. I mean, we're kind of building steam, but we either kind of break up or we break down. I do think we're kind of at the razor's edge on where the economy goes. The China thing, I don't know if you talked about it before, but look, I've done a lot of business in China, and we either win the economic war today with China, or we're going to fight with them tomorrow, a real war, right?
Yeah.
That's coming. So there's a lot at stake, but I don't know. I just go back to where I grew up, right, and kind of, I definitely want to see more opportunity, right, for everybody, and that's important.
Well, that's great, and you sound like you're a pretty good guy. You kind of sound like me, because even though you support the Republican Party, that's okay, but you also have an understanding that everything that they saying in the news is not always true, and you have to be able to want to work with each other. That's the only way it would actually work out, is being able to compromise and work together in order to make America great, not make it great again, to make it great. Because in my eyes, it haven't been great for everybody. It been one-sided. So that is my opinion of it.
Do you think Trump has a one-sided view of I mean, let's drop the again, right? Because if it's going to divide, what's the point, right? But let's just focus on the making America great for everyone. Maybe that would be a good motto for him. When we should suggest it, right? But I have heard that he was doing some things to open things up more for the African American community. As a business person, right, the opportunity zones, I think, are a great idea. Those have made a big difference in some of the countries I trade with, right? The economic opportunity zones can really lead to some serious kind of wealth creation and economic boom. But I'm just curious what you're feeling. Do you see some goodness in the things that have been done?
With Trump, at this point, no, I don't. And let me explain to you why. Because with Trump, he will say one thing, and then you give him 30 seconds, he'll say something completely different about the same subject. He's wishy-washy. And instead of saying something, you could tell me anything, but your action need to line up with it also. And that's not the case with Trump.
Not the actions. I'm not worried about it. Honestly, as a New Yorker, right? I kind of grew up there. But just looking at the outcomes, right? The outcomes in particular. And, unemployment pre-pandemic, income growth, opportunity zones, justice reform. I mean, he talks about these things, but there's actually specific outcomes that he can point to. What is there anything? What do you think?
I think as for unemployment, he was inherited a great unemployment rating, but then what he's looking at today and what he talk about today about look at unemployment today is much better. But we also have to take in consideration all the people that lost their job during that time.
Oh, yeah.
And once people lost their job, and once, of course, the unemployment rate is going to go high, but once they start back working, it's going to drop low again. So I don't think he can really judge that part, because I feel like he's the problem, the reason why we're in this pandemic, because he fired the team that was in place as soon as he got in office. He fired the team that's supposed to keep us from having a pandemic, and he have no plans of getting the team back together again. So that's a problem for me, because I just feel like if Trump stay in office, I feel like for the next 4 years we're going to be dealing with this pandemic, and that's all to it. Because one thing, he don't want to wear a mask. Pence don't want to wear a mask. They still want to hold rallies, and that's not the way to do. And even when he came out telling us, "Oh, it's going to blow over," and when we found out last month, he been talking to a reporter behind the doors and was saying, "Man, this is bad. This is worse than the flu." See, he should have been giving us that warning ahead of time, where people can take this serious enough, wear masks, and we can probably be over it by now. But that's not what Trump was trying to do. So
I hear you. I guess my perspective is, it's not a binary kind of grade, right? It's not you pass or you fail the pandemic, grade for Trump. It's not a pass or fail for me. There's kind of a continuum of how well, like, you could have an A to F, and if you take a step back and look at the whole world, right, which countries have really beat the pandemic?
It actually been some, but some are also.
Yeah, no, there has been. I mean, I'll give you the first one. It's China, right?
Yeah.
China beat the pandemic, but do you know how they beat the pandemic?
Well, one reason about locking it down.
Well, they locked it down, but this is what they did, right? This is what they did, because again, I know people in China, right? I work with them. What they did was they completely locked it down. They locked people in their homes, right?
Exactly.
And then they went around and they did mandatory temperature checks in these areas. And if anybody in a household had a fever, they all got pulled out and put into a hospital by force. And many of them died. So yeah, they beat it, but they beat it in a way that a democracy could never beat it, right? We could never do that. So
because
what I think we see is the whole Western world, right, is fighting this. Spain, France, Germany, England, the U.S., Brazil, Canada, everybody is still fighting this. And,
yes.
We're not maybe at the top of the pack in terms of the statistics, but we're not at the bottom by any means. We're doing, I think, comparable at the top end. But here's the great part of America, right? We're close to some vaccines, hopefully this year. If not this year, hopefully early next year. And if we get those out, I think that's going to be long-term what beats this.
Well,
look, you're in Texas, right?
Yes.
I heard you say we're in Texas too, and we're surviving, right? We're kind of getting the job done. The economy is moving. People are working. People are still getting sick, but life goes on.
Okay.
I think we're kind of learning to deal with this until the vaccine is out there.
Well, see, one of the problems.
Again, I'm not saying he gets the perfect grade. By no means. I agree with you.
Okay.
But I would have given him an F either. There's been some good things that have been done.
Okay, one of the problems we running into is because even in the last debate, Trump said
Yeah.
it will be a vaccine coming up in 2 weeks. And when the moderator actually questioned him about it, he said, well, probably by the end of the year. And then he turned around and she said, well, according to records, it may be next year before a vaccine come out. And we may be wearing a mask until 2022. And she asked Trump, which one is right? He said, well, what I'm telling you is right. And I'm like, how could you tell us what's right and you didn't believe in it from the first place? Welcome to the show, Chandra, listening on Periscope. She actually said he does not believe in science. I agree
kind
with
of
you.
all over the place on it. But let me ask you this, right? If we get a vaccine in 2 months or in 4 months or even sometime, early next year, isn't that an amazing accomplishment?
We could have had one by now. If he had.
I mean, look, these things take 3, 4, 5 years to develop, right?
Well,
what they have done is pretty amazing to collapse it down to less than a year to maybe a little bit more than a year. Like we said up front, right? I feel like you got to give the guy credit where credit is due. He's all over the place, but the government has hustled quite a bit to get a vaccine out, working with industry, and they made a lot of progress, right? I mean, we're close. Maybe we're a month away, maybe 2, maybe 4, but it's a lot closer than 3 years, right?
Well,
and that's an achievement that we could be proud of. Everybody can.
Well, the thing is, it takes years to come up with what the proper vaccine, because you have to know this virus, you have to know what you're dealing with, and then also you have to also know if people are going to be if they're going to have some type of a reaction to the vaccine, and that's another concern because everybody may not be able to take everything. It may treat people differently. Kind of like they had to stop the trial last week because someone that was in the study actually died from the vaccine. So that's another problem. And it's going to be stuff.
We don't know yet if it was the vaccine, but they have somebody did die. I agree with you. No, look, I think the proof will be in the pudding, right? My question for you is, 2 months from now, a good vaccine comes out. Give the guy a break. Hey, there's one good thing they did. That's all. Okay.
So let me ask you this. If in 2 months one come out, are you willing to take it?
Yes.
You would take it with no problem without knowing that it's.
No, I'd take it. I've actually thought about getting into one of the studies.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be confident in the vaccine because what I've studied that a little bit. It looks like what they're doing is they're building it off of an existing vaccine. So they're modifying it a little bit for this virus, but they're trying to go with like a known base for the vaccine. And, I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is and I'm going to take the vaccine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's a good thing. But I won't trust it. If I'm not, if it's not one of those things, last resorts, I'll wait. I'll wait because they got us like that before.
Too, right? You can, if you choose to wait, right? Look, I think if enough high-risk individuals take the vaccine, let's say seniors, frontline workers, maybe people working in heavily, it'll start helping, right? And we'll get more data, and then maybe more people will feel comfortable taking it. But it's a big deal rolling out a vaccine, and we got to get it right. That's for sure, right? But I do, as they've talked about how they compressed the time. I don't know if you've looked at how they managed to compress the time, but they took all the activities that you would normally carry out to to roll out a vaccine, and they did them all concurrently, right? So they built the full production lot of vaccine while they were doing the testing. And they did this with a whole bunch of vaccines, and they spent a lot of money up front, but they're not going to use that vaccine they made unless it's proven to be good. So they're not really taking a shortcut other than they just took a lot of risk with money by spending it earlier than they normally would have, which is a good bet because this thing is costing the economy and our people, right, huge amounts of money and grief. And not to mention death and illness, right? So they made a bet in concurrently, right, working on different stages of the vaccine, which hopefully will pay off. It may or may not. I think that's a good thing. Right?
So basically what they're doing is kind of how people like things today. They might want to microwave it, and basically they want it fast, but they don't know if it's going to be safe or not. And that's the scary thing about it.
True.
Some things you just have to be patient, take your time with it, and not trying to rush it. I call that a microwave type of process because you're trying to rush it.
There's rushing things and then there's rushing things, right? So imagine, right, if you're making a burger, right? There's a couple of different ways to make the burger. The long way, you make the bread. Well, no, you grow the wheat, right? Then you make the flour. Then you make the bread, right? And then you grow the cow. You kill the cow. You ground the beef. You put it all together. You cook it. Oh, by the way, you got to grow the tomatoes. Like you could imagine, I can come up with a process. To make a burger that takes a year, right?
Yeah, it's a process to do.
Or you could collapse all of that and do kind of concurrent activities. So what I read is that they haven't cut corners on the safety part, but they've taken risk, financial risk, to build things in advance, right? To make the vaccine in advance, hoping it'll work. And if it doesn't work, all that stuff, $100 million, $1 billion goes in the trash.
Well, I think
that's what I believe. That's what I've read, at least.
I still stand by with what I said before. If Trump did not fire that team that was in place to prevent a pandemic, I think we would have better control of it. And when it came out, when he first heard about it back in November or December of last year, we could have been working on something then, and it could have been solved. But instead, it wasn't until March when they put out the alert to the American people that this virus is pretty bad, which we lost 5 months before they actually put it out. The whole time he was saying it wasn't that bad. So to go back to the question you asked, would I trust him? No. Trump lied too much. He just lied too much. He's gonna say and do whatever he wanna say and do, and that's all to it. So I cannot trust Trump. He said too many things that would make me want to trust him. And
that's fair enough. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I think we all have to kind of make our own decisions there on who we trust and who not to. And that depends on obviously where our worldviews and backgrounds, right? Things like that. My gut tells me, we could have done things better. Would it be dramatically different? Maybe. Maybe we'd have half the deaths, right? Maybe the vaccine would already be out. Maybe.
Okay.
But when I take a step back and look across the world, everybody's struggling with this thing. It's not just America, right? It's at least all the democracies are. And I suspect it won't get much better until there's a vaccine. Right. a good vaccine.
Also, hold on, had a comment come in. Chandra said it take years to determine if a medication is good. There are class action lawsuits due to bad drugs. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Also, Adam, what we have to look at also, once it came out about this pandemic, when it was just supposedly in China, one of the things that this administration did was send supplies over to China.
Yeah.
And then once it hit, when we found out how bad it was in March, then we was running out of supplies.
Yeah.
And if you know that China and all these other countries are getting hit by a pandemic, we never should send out the supplies we have to help other country, because eventually we're gonna get hit with it.
Well, I don't, and you know, you're right. And I don't think we probably knew the full risk when that happened. But here's what ought to really piss you off and everybody else, right? I have some cousins who are in the medical industry. They're doctors, one doctor, one a nurse. And one doctor, one a dermatologist. And they noticed, and they're in Europe, right? And they noticed at the end of last year and the beginning of January that medical supplies started to disappear. Masks, gowns, right? They couldn't get their orders filled from China. So what it turned out was happening was that they were hoarding the supplies because they knew what was coming. They were hoarding the supplies. It was insanity. So yeah, while we're giving it away, the Chinese were kind of, they're smart because they knew what was happening, and they hoarded the supplies, which then they handed out as gifts to the Italians and to other countries, or charged crazy prices for people desperate enough to buy them. And at the height of this pandemic, right, when we were truly, truly desperate, if you recall. So, look, I'm definitely not going to say we hoed a perfect road here. We did not, right? But you also can't say it was a complete failure. I don't think that's fair either. The truth is somewhere in the middle. There are things that we're going to look back and say, yep, that was bad. And then we're going to look back at other things and say, you know what, that's good. That's something we can learn from. I think that's fair. That's a fair way to think about performance.
Well, I just had radio to put up a comment. Trump made 20,000 lies or misleading statement from fact checking over his first term. And that's a lot. That's a lot. 20,000. So
that is a lot.
So is
how many's died in that? He's been getting some out there too.
Yeah, but not like this. But I have seen where if Biden did misspeak, he did come back and say, you know what, I was wrong for that. He said he'd been trying to change it since he put the law in place back in '93 or something. He said, I've been trying to get it changed ever since. I made a mistake. But see, that's the key. Standing up for when you're wrong and admitting that you're wrong, that's a big step. But unfortunately, Trump won't do that. Like when I was watching the debate earlier from Thursday night, he talked about man, I said I was gonna write it down. He said he was did something, then 2 seconds later he changed it to something else, blamed somebody else for it. And I'm like, look, this is crazy. You cannot just be honest with the people. I could respect the person more if they be honest, instead of lying to me. If you lie to me, I can't trust you. And that's the problem with Americans.
I don't know, though, man. Like the guy's speech, right? So I've listened to. First of all, just so you know, I voted for Obama twice, okay, and Biden, right?
Okay.
And when the last election started, I was actually firmly in the Democratic camp. But then I changed, right? Mainly because of some of the things that Trump started to say about China. and our trade policies, which, again, I've done a lot of international trade, and I personally, unfortunately, right, probably have exported, thousands of jobs overseas. And so then I listened a little bit closer, and then once you kind of cut through the New York kind of bluster and bullshit, excuse my language, there's a nugget of kind of truth in there, right? And his loose with his words, and his kind of a markets, showman, salesman. It comes with the territory with this guy, and it is what it is, right? I mean, it is what it is. I get it. I don't know if he, in some ways, is much more honest than many politicians. You also have to give him that. I mean, he does kind of talk like he sees it.
I don't know about that one. So let me ask you this, Abe.
Yeah.
Do you have a daughter, or are you married?
I'm married, yes.
Okay. How did you feel about when Trump came out? The audio came out when Trump said, "Just grab a woman by the vajayjay."
Yeah. I mean, it was not a good comment. I was like, "Whoa, wow, can't believe he said that." But look, I'm more worried about the country, okay, than what comes out of his mouth day in, day out, right? I'm worried about China policy. I'm worried about economic policy. I'm worried about opportunities, right, for Americans. And those things help us all win, right? And, what he said about grabbing who's, I don't know if it really matters in the big picture. And, you take a look at some of what these other politicians have been doing behind the scenes, right? God, I mean, there's some pretty nasty stuff that goes on. No one is an exception, right? No one is perfect. Let he who has no sin cast the first stone, right? I'm certainly with some sin. So, look, I'm not going to apologize for what he did or condone what he did, but I will tell you what I'm looking for, right, is outcomes around economic policy, national security, trade, right, and those, at least from my perspective, has delivered on what he said he would do, much more so than really any other politician that I've seen, at least in my lifetime, right, who's been almost like fanatical in his desire to deliver on what he says is going to deliver on.
Okay. Now, radio.
I mean, you have to admit, you got to give it to the guy. Like whether or not we agreed he was going to build a wall, God darn it, didn't he build a wall, right? Like whether or not we agree with he was going to pull out of the Paris Accords, damn it, he did it. Whether or not we agree with he was going to cancel the Iranian deal,
but hold on, Adam. Hold on. He said he was going to build a wall, but he said he was going to have Mexico pay for that wall.
No, he didn't do that. I agree with you, but he tried like.
No, because as soon as he said it, Mexico president said, "We're not paying for that fucking wall." That's what he said. And
you're right.
And they didn't.
You're right. They didn't pay for it. But you know what? He's still like I give it to the guy. He fought like hell to deliver on his promises. We may not agree with what he did, right? But I just
we can't say it was his promise because he said Mexico was going to pay for the wall, and that didn't happen.
Okay.
So
I'll give you that.
Which is a lot more that he said, just like about China going to pay for this next stimulus bill, and that's not going to happen either. But he will make people think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's had a comment to come in. Radio said he said at the debate that renewable wind power is no good because the wind is too intimate, brilliant, and he also talked about it killed birds too. So how you feel about that?
Repeat that again. I'm sorry, I missed the last thing you said.
At the debate, Trump talked about.
Oh, wind turbines. Wind turbines killing birds. Yes, they do.
Well, he also said the renewable wind power is no good.
Look, I'll tell you what the problem with wind is. Okay, and again, I've built them. I've been on top of them, inside them. I know how they work, right? And one, they take up a lot of space. Okay, so you got to put them in the right places. So it would take like literally thousands and thousands, maybe tens of thousands of wind turbines, if not more, to power just the United States. And that's if the wind blows all the time. All right, that's one thing to consider. Two, they're hard to repair. Right, all the guts of a wind turbine are 200 feet, 300 feet in the air. So if there's a problem up there, it's very expensive to fix. And inside them, you've got gearboxes, motors, right, or generators, and it's just expensive to maintain and fix them. And then they're expensive to make because they take a lot of steel, right, to make. So he's not wrong that they're not the most efficient and necessarily the environmentally friendly way of producing power. I've got to go do the math. And I don't want to give you a number, but I thought it was like 30,000 wind turbines is what it would take to make enough power for the United States, 30,000. And every 20 years, you're going to have to replace them. Right? Think about that. So they don't last forever.
Yeah.
And they take up a lot of steel. No, wind power is never going to be what we need. I think natural gas certainly is a good fuel, right? It's clean burning, low carbon emissions. Nuclear power, by the way, I used to operate nuclear reactors, right, when I was in the Navy. Nuclear power is good, clean energy source. Of course, it's got its problems, right, if you don't handle it properly. Coal is tough, right? Coal is tough. Coal is something we got to transition away from, preferably towards natural gas and nuclear power. Oil, there's no getting away from oil. I mean, the odds are right now you're wearing petroleum-based products or using them every day around you. You know, the phone we have likely has petroleum-based products as a part of it. So it's really difficult to just transition to renewables. You know, it's not really feasible. And renewables, especially wind, rely often on tax credits to be economically acceptable, right, for the investors. So I think the people who talk about zero emissions by 2030, they don't understand energy, right? They really don't. If they did, they would never propose that.
All right. So let me ask you another.
They do kill birds.
I'm sure they do.
Not by the billions, but they do kill birds.
But and I know it's very expensive to ship those parts out because it could cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 for one truck to take a load up there.
No, you're right. You're right. Each truck, like think about it, right? To ship a wind turbine, you got to ship those giant blades, and it's easily in the $20,000-$30,000 range, if not more. One blade, and they've got 3 blades. The tower, I think, you can ship it in smaller pieces, right? So they're not as bad, but it's still not. Logistics aren't cheap. Putting them up isn't cheap. It's just not a cheap source of energy. You know, it's expensive and it's hard to maintain, and it's not steady. The wind doesn't blow all the time, right? So surely we can use more wind power, but we're never going to go 100% zero emissions renewable. There's no way to do that. There's not enough, there's not enough wind to do that. And even if you did that, every 20 years you'd have to replace these tens of thousands of wind turbines you built.
Okay.
Which would be brutal, right? Because they wear out. They don't last 100 years, right? They don't. 20, 30 years max, probably more like 20. And then you have to put a new one. So what do you do with the old ones?
All right. Exactly.
So But natural gas is a good source. I'm a big fan of that, because I've helped build those plants all over the world. Clean. You wouldn't even know there was one in your neighborhood with the latest technology, right? Quiet.
Yeah, I know it's one in the neighborhood, and it's one not too far from us. So,
Yep.
which I'm aware of that. We actually have a couple out here. So I have a couple of comments that came in and want to give you the opportunity to kind of hit on it and see if I'm gonna make it a two-part question. Radio want to know, where's Trump healthcare plan that been coming in 2 weeks for 4 years?
Yep.
And the other part is how do you feel about climate change?
Climate change. Yeah, let me take the healthcare first, right?
Okay.
I'm not happy about healthcare from Obama or Trump or the Republicans, right?
Well, Trump don't have one.
They both failed us in different ways, right? I think we need affordable health care for the country, for sure. And I think it'll help the economy to give people a chance to change jobs without necessarily losing their health care. How we get there, we need to be cautious about, right? And we need to make sure that we don't ram a solution down the country's throat again, right? And that applies to Trump and it applies to Obama. So I'm not giving him high grades on healthcare at all, right? I will say I don't want to break the whole system to fix 10% of it, okay? So we need a solution. But I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know where that solution is. I know the Affordable Health Care Act hasn't done everything it said that it would do. I think we need to see more from it. And I also agree that Trump didn't really put in place anything better. Maybe some sort of a public option for people would be great. I just would love to see something good there for Americans. But I'm going to come back to healthcare a little bit on the context of socialism and why we need to be weary of that. The climate change piece. So climate change is, I think there's a lot of evidence that it's happening, right? Maybe slowly, and certainly some evidence of the possibility of significant climate change in the world. What I'm focused in on, though, is just because you believe climate change is real doesn't mean you should go and engage in destructive economic policy to stop it, right? And let me be clear again. This goes back to what I explained about China and the U.S. in the beginning. What good is it for the U.S. to cut carbon emissions when all that does is shift work to China, who then produces more carbon than we would have? That's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. So we need to fight climate change, but we've got to start by holding China and India and some of these other countries accountable to also reducing carbon emissions so that we're not creating unintended outcomes that make no sense, that are just crazy, right? Like why would you do that, right? Why would you, stop? But what's a good analogy, Why would you stop enjoying your favorite TV show to save the climate when your neighbor is going to go watch 5 times as many all of a sudden because you stop? It doesn't work because now they're going to do even worse than you are doing. So what you've got to do is hit the thing as a global team, not just as America takes the brunt of it and Europe takes the brunt of it. America and Europe are already leading the world in low carbon emissions and clean, low pollution technologies.
Well,
we need China to step up.
I definitely feel like it's a world effect on it. We all need to step up on it. Kind of like when I heard the rally Trump did yesterday in Maine, he decided to let them know He cleaned 5,000 square miles of their lakes up there, of their ocean, and I guess Trump have a. I guess he have uh, male crush on President Obama because he was like, the last administration couldn't do it. Obama didn't do it. I did it for you. And once again, he was shoulder to shoulder with people and not wearing a mask.
Let me ask you a question, right? Like climate change is all about carbon emissions, right? And then other greenhouse gases. But let's just focus on carbon emissions. You take the total carbon emissions in the world. Who do you think is the number one emitter of carbon today? CO2.
Hell, I think we all do our parts in it, but it would have to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you know which country emits the most carbon in the world today?
Not right offhand. If I would say anybody, I would say us. But
it's a game show. We're doing a game show, okay? And so here are the choices. All right. So 28% of world's carbon emissions, and then 15%. These are the top two countries. Okay, 28%, 15%. China, United States. Who's at the top?
You said China.
China has nearly twice the carbon emissions that America does. U.S. has 15%. So when you start thinking about the problem, right, if we cut 1% of our emissions by increasing our cost of energy, China will add 2% carbon emissions because their technology that they use is so environmentally unfriendly. So that's the kind of crazy economic outcomes that we want to avoid if we're going to fight climate change. We need to fight it, but we got to make sure that you hit it globally so that you're not defeating your purpose in how you fight it. So I'm kind of with it, but I don't think the media has done a good enough job explaining the math to people, right, of climate change. And the math is that Europe and America can't go at it alone. And if we do, we only create the conditions by which there'll be more carbon emitted by the countries that are not being held accountable.
Okay.
Does that answer the question for your audience? I hope it does.
Yeah, because he basically said the Republican deny climate change is happening altogether. How is that good? So, but we'll take that for tonight because I know I said over an hour ago we was getting off here, but I definitely appreciate you calling in and being a part of the show. Definitely continue to listen and definitely call in again when we're on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central Time. So definitely you're welcome to call in whenever we're live. If we are talking about a subject that you want to hit on, definitely tune in. We have no problem with having an open dialogue. So I appreciate you and Gabe. Gabe, next time be a part of the conversation too. Don't just hide now.
Okay, well, you're so damn quiet. So do you have like this show's number and all that stuff? Do you know?
I do know.
You have it? Yep. You sure?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, okay, we'll let you know whenever you want to call in.
Yeah, definitely do. If you don't have it, I'll put it up and like I did tonight, and you're more than welcome to call in. And it may be something else you want to talk about. Only thing, guys, to be respectful and to bring facts. So, but I definitely appreciate you and Adam and Gabe for calling in and being a part of the show tonight. I really appreciate it. You're always welcome to come back and talk and bring your opinions to the show. Only thing I ask just
So
be.
we'll
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
definitely do that.
I didn't hear you.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
Okay. I definitely appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And definitely continue to listen to the show. I want to thank everyone that tuned in tonight. Eva Donkey, Radio Chaos, Marcella Smith, Chandra on Periscope, T-Cal, this guy's here. I don't have the ones from Facebook. If you didn't send a message in, I cannot see you. But I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Until tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Time, y'all have a blessed day. Love each and every one of you. Till then, peace.
Absolutely.